have someone in the studio to talk about sustainable housing in the FCT. And we have Benson Upa Jr. He's a sustainable urban development expert. Welcome on the program.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so sustainable housing.
Yes.
What does it really mean in layman's term to have sustainable housing?
Well, to have sustainable housing entails you having adequate shelter,
Okay.
having the means to maintain the resources you have
Okay.
in that environment in which you reside, and that would entail you having food, having electricity, having access to transport networks in the society and in urban areas.
Okay.
That's what it means to have sustainable housing, also in rural areas as well. Having all the required infrastructure to keep you abreast with whatever you have within the confines of your environment.
Okay. You know, before this, your explanation, I would just think sustainable housing is, you know, having a house, having a shelter over your head, having a roof over your head.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So are we at a point now where we can say, we can conveniently say that at least 80-70% have houses are okay for people? Are we at that point?
Well, I would say we're not at that point. And if you look all over the globe, we are having a shortfall, a housing deficit.
Okay.
Because you find out there are people who live in slums, in shanties, places that are overcrowded, and these are usually gregarious areas where you find people like street urchins, like hoodlums, bandits, and quite a number of people who are displaced from their place of settlement, maybe due to insecurity, flood, disaster, and quite a number of things that I can see that we are not there yet.
Okay.
Yes.
So, you know, there's this cry for, we cannot begin to overemphasize why people should be properly housed.
Yes.
But there's this issue of saving the environment, making everywhere green.
Yes.
And if people are not properly housed, can you relate this to what happens?
Yeah, well, I can relate them together because I would say there's a symbiosis with sustainable cities and communities with other sustainable development goals.
Okay.
Because we have to make sure that our basic needs are met, which of course shelter is one of them, and it's even a cardinal goal that is to be met. So we need to ensure that people have houses that they can afford, they can maintain, they can sustain. And these are places where they are averse or protected from risk. We should ensure that they have sustainable water. There should be land use planning and management for us to get to that point.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. Now let's talk housing and mortgage. We all know that buying a house or building a house is not something you just close your eyes and do overnight. It takes a toil on you. So, but there's always mortgage.
Yes.
How do people really know? What awareness has been carried out to people, especially civil servants, on mortgage? What do civil servants know about mortgage?
Well, I can say that civil servants have a decent awareness on mortgage. However, on a broader spectrum, mortgage is, in fact, the term mortgage, people do not know what the term mortgage is. And they do not know how to access mortgages. Yes.
Because I was going to ask you that too. Knowing and accessing are two different.
Yes, they are two different things. So I would say civil servants are quite aware about mortgage. But if you talk about the other wing of citizens of the country and some other countries in developing South or other countries, they may not really know what mortgage is all about.
But shouldn't there be an awareness to let everyone know that, oh, housing can actually be affordable, accessible, and all of that?
Yes, we are actually, there are organizations, civil service organizations, parastatals, ministries like the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, and a couple of them that are trying to create awareness for the mortgage in the country, and through channels like the prestigious NTA. But the problem now is people not having the opportunity to even have TV sets or sustainable electricity in their homes, which is also one of the shortfalls in achieving sustainable cities and communities.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, for people that know,
Yes.
do they know how to access mortgage?
Some of them may not know because they.
Let me tell you an experience. Okay. So there was a time, I went to the Federal Mortgage Bank, and I heard talks about PMI.
PMI, primary mortgage institutions, that have now become primary mortgage banks.
Okay, so at a point I just got tired and confused, and I just left it.
Okay.
I wasn't interested again because of the whole stress of years. So can you tell us how accessible this is?
Yes, we have like PMIs. Yes, we understand they have been very long, stiff bottlenecks that have been difficult for particularly civil servants to access housing facilities and housing financing. And because of these things, people have been discouraged or have lost the motivation to get houses of theirs. And however, there are processes in which they can get their housing. And one of such is that they have to be contributors to the National Housing Fund for a minimum of 6 months. And what will be deductible will be 2.5% of their monthly income. And it not only applies to civil servants, it applies to people in the private sector, people who are even in the informal sector, like the akara seller, the newspaper vendor, the vulcanizer. And this can be done when they join cooperative societies. And when they join these cooperative societies, they're able to contribute to the cooperative society, and the cooperative society will now be able to apply for housing loans where they can build houses for them, and they pay for a period of 20 to 30 years. However, on the aspect of the civil servants, they have to be contributing for a minimum of 6 months to access the National Housing Fund or access the National Housing Fund. However, we also have different products anyway. Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Okay. We have the National Housing Fund where you can apply for a house of your choice, and it's 6% interest annually. So in fact, even if you're able to pay within a short time, it's even better for you. So it's not like the interest keeps increasing and all of that. It's just on a flat rate, 6%. Then we have the rent to own. Now, in the aspect of the primary mortgage banks, you're talking about making it difficult. The Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria has made it easy for people to have houses of theirs by not necessarily going to primary mortgage banks, but you can also access rent to own housing products whereby you look for a house of your choice through an estate developer and all of that. So it is the bank itself that interfaces with the estate developer, not going through the channel of a primary mortgage bank. So you would only have to deal with the Federal Mortgage Bank in particular, and you wouldn't go through so many rigors and hassles to get in a house of yours. Yes. So the interest is about 7%. We also have the home renovation loan. Home renovation loan, we actually give you cash, a maximum of 1 million to renovate the house which you live in, which of course is one of those things we are trying to achieve in line with sustainable cities and communities. Then we also have cooperative housing development, where people like the people I mentioned initially, those people in the informal sector, people having their own businesses and who are self-employed, can also get houses through a cooperative, because it's an organized structure, or would I say an organized labor that can, stand as a face for people who want to get houses. And in the event they cannot afford, we will look for means to ensure that they get a house that is based on their income. Yes.
So now we've talked about affordability and accessibility. And you've also told us the procedures and products.
Yes.
Okay. So when we interview, when we have these conversations, they're
Yes.
usually beautiful to listen to. But when in reality, when you go, you find out that there are bottlenecks, and I hope that this one is a straight jacketed thing, as you have said.
No, it is a straight jacketed thing. The thing is that people need to be patient.
Okay.
They need to be patient. They need to go through the proper channels, because some people have been hoodwinked, have been deceived to go to different places to get, houses and all of that.
Now, talking about going to places, so if one is interested, so if one is listening to this interview and is
Yes.
so interested in getting a house, of course, housing is something that everybody wants to get. Where should the person go to?
You can go to the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria.
Okay.
So they have offices around Nigeria, the 36 states.
Okay.
Wherever you are, you can go meet them, and if you see a house of your choice in whichever state you are, they would be able to assist you.
Okay.
And also, you can go to any organization you think are responsible for providing sustainable and affordable housing for Nigerians. However, I would recommend the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria.
Okay.
Yes.
Just before we let you go,
Yes.
advice to the populace on how to get their houses.
Well, viewers, I would recommend that you do your due diligence when it comes to getting houses, and meet the right people who are responsible for providing houses, and come to the Federal Mortgage Bank or whichever civil organization that you think is responsible for that.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Besson
Yeah,
Upa Jr.,
thank you.
Sustainable Urban Development expert who
yes.
came on the program to
Yeah.
give us an insight on what to do to have houses,
Yes.
even in the capital city.
Thank you so much. It's
Yeah.
been a pleasure.
Yes,
All
it's
right.
a pleasure.
Yeah.
Now, viewers, Good Morning Abuja continues shortly after this timeout. Do stay with us.